Hey everyone, my name is Loddon Mallee. I am currently a second year paramed student and I am going to be discussing a local organisation and how principles of public health practice are applied. So the company which I decided to do was Women's Health Loddon Mallee, which is located at 47 Myer Street, Bendigo. This company is a not-for-profit organisation which is targeted by women for women. So I'm going to discuss in this presentation what the service is, the principles that the company displays, some of the limitations and some of the limitations of the organisation. The reason I decided to do this organisation was because I have really close friends who have gone through sexual harassment and violence and have gone through tough stages, and I feel like this will inform them more about some of the organisation which Bendigo has to offer. So now I'm going to be moving on to describing what this service is and discussing the aims and objectives of this organisation. So this organisation has a vision and a mission. So their vision, as quoted by them, is the health, well-being and equity for women of the Loddon Mallee region. Their mission is to foster a culture of gender equity that underpins health and well-being for women within the Loddon Mallee region. They also have a commitment to working towards a more equitable distribution of power resources for women. These include things like equal pay. There are many services within the organisation which also helps women with their everyday need, which they might have. They have a particular focus on women with areas such as gender equity, prevention of violence against women, sexual and reproductive health. They work on building health rather than attempting to cure the illness. They have a focus on prevention. Their funding arrangements, since this is a not-for-profit organisation, getting funds is much harder compared to other organisations which might use money and stuff like that. But in order for this company to be able to get funds, they have an online store, which could be found on their Facebook page, where they only sell gender fairness cards, conversations about equity, which is roughly $35 for a card, but it teaches you everything about equity between genders. They also have many partners to help them. This will be later discussed. But they have really big partners that help help to promote it and help fund it. And they also attempt to do stuff like donations and all that. So the way this company relates, this company has relations to public health, is that they attempt to prevent inequities between genders, promote good health for women, protect women from being put in places where there is inequities, which include situations such as domestic violence, and finally monitoring how women's equities are changing through the years. So now I'm going to be discussing how Women's Health Loddon Mallee displays their principles. So I want to first start off with a quote from Women's Health, which states that Women's Health Loddon Mallee recognises that women's health is determined by complex relationship between the physical, social, emotional, cultural, environmental, and economic aspects in their lives. So they accept that women are a diverse group and that they have a, quote, variety of needs, circumstances and aspirations that affect the lives of their health. This organisation is a very affordable, accessible and available for women or women in the Bendigo region. So the reason it is affordable is because of the fact that it is a not-for-profit organisation, which means that it's therefore easily affordable and that no money has to be paid to be using the services that they provide. It is also very accessible since for women due to the fact that it is targeted for women, which is a company made by women. And finally, it is very, very available as it is a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. And they open their doors to all women, no matter how small the incident is. So now I want to discuss their principles, such as social justice. They believe that strengthening and mobilizing the community, workplace change, building understanding and skills, leading and advocating, and campaign and communications in order to build this strength, which fight against the inequalities between genders. Furthermore, they also have consumer participation. So a quote from them states that violence against women is serious, prevalent, and preventable. Violence against women requires a gendered response. So what they tend to say is that in order to stop domestic violence, they want women to rise up against it and what inequalities they get in a relationship and stuff like that. They also have social values, where they believe that non-violence is a fundamental value that must be promoted. So they're not here to attack men or anything like that, or their partners. They're here to fight for what's right. So now I'm going to move on to the social determinants of health. So women's health acknowledges that there are many social determinants which go into effect of domestic violence and other inequalities for women. So, inequalities happen across all cultures, and these happen across all cultures, countries, and socio-economic groups. I'm going to give you an example of my parents, who are both from Sri Lankan background and moved to Australia around 1980s, 1990s. So, when my parents, Sri Lanka firstly, socio-economic wise, it is a third world country, so having for women to get the rights to having stuff like tampons and all that type of stuff is much harder compared to us, and it makes it harder for women. But that's besides the point, because they're here in Australia. But I'm going to depict how the culture is different to how I view it now. So for my parents, they're still very, very traditional, even though they're in Australia, where they believe the aspect where they believe that women should be the one that does a lot of the kitchen work and cleaning and all that type of stuff, whereas men are the ones that work and they come home after a big day or whatever and relaxing and all that. So this is how my parents are still living now. Now it's slowly changing with my generation, where I know for a fact that, like, when I look at my mates and when my friends and their relationships, that they equally share responsibilities, where they're both the caretakers and the bread givers. This is where organisations such as Women's Health are there to help people like my mother, if she was to ever go through struggles with the harshness of inequalities or whatever that happens due to cultural reasons. And I want to move on to health promotion. So as discussed earlier in my fundings, when I said that women's health has a lot of partners which help them, well, this is where I want to discuss why. Because a lot of big companies know that about equal rights and stuff and equal rights and all that, and they promote and are with women's health because they stand by them. Big companies include La Trobe University, Department of Health and Human Services, and even Central Victoria AFL. So now I want to move on to some of the limitations which this service has, and maybe some recommendations for the future. So this company does not have many limitations. Maybe one of the biggest factors would probably be the older generation. So this company needs to somehow be able to inform the older generation about this organisation and all, because I know for a fact that my grandma does not use social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and she would have not known that there are companies out there which are there to help women. But I know maybe for a recommendation to be able to reduce this limitation is for the current generation to inform and create diversity within genders, because it is common that this current generation is much more open-minded, and it is seen at La Trobe University a fair bit through like the societies that they have within the university. So overall, it is clearly depicted in my presentation that Bendigo Health is attempting to fight for change for the rights of women, and they are able to display this through the full affordability, accessibility, and availability, the social justice, consumer participation, social values, and social determinants. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening.